Chapter. Hopefully again, Peter can join us. That would be really cool. But if he's not able to, like I said he was coming back from being out of town, and today was going to be his day back. I wrote him a message this morning to say, hey, we look forward to hearing from you. We'll see. But anyway, besides that, let's go ahead and talk about 18 minutes. So we will just roll with, what did you think? Who has something to open up with to share about this book?
Well, I can start. I just loved all the little, I don't know what you want to call them, tips, I guess. I liked how he summarized. Each chapter was short, which I really liked.
Yeah.
Little nuggets that were very easy to digest and go, I could do that, you know, and it made you think, and they were easy and you could relate to it. I really liked it. I thought it was, I wish I would have read it, 20 years ago. It was really good. I really liked it.
Yeah.
Lots of good little nuggets.
Yeah, the short chapters and the summaries were, like we were talking, Mary, very, very helpful. It's a very easily digestible book. It's something that is a nice quick read, but boy, it has a lot of cool stuff in there. What else? Anybody else have kind of opening thoughts about what you thought about the book? Oh, hey, Shannon.
Hi. I like that it was just really simple. I didn't need to really, the ideas were just really so straightforward. And like, why didn't I think of this? Or why haven't I been doing this? Oh, yeah, I can check in 18 minutes a day. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that really cool that it's like, yeah, it seems too simple almost, but yeah, it's got some really neat things on there. Yeah, especially, of course, the key 18-minute sequence. Has anybody tried that, or has anybody tried anything like this before? Would anybody try this? Is anybody planning on implementing the 18-minute framework? Does anybody think that they might give that a try?
I personally, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know for most of what I do if that's applicable, but the part that I have heard this before, but really needed a reminder was the taking an intentional pause part, where he was like, step back, and because it'll make you do a better job moving forward. I had a manager at the library, not my manager, but another department whom I loved, who always said that. Like, we'd be in a meeting and somebody would throw out an idea, and you know how like everyone talks over one another, and she would go, okay, everybody, let's just pause for 30 seconds. Nobody talks, just think. And it really worked, and I had forgotten that that was a thing that I should do. So that was what I got out of the book.
Yeah.
Mary, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, in previous jobs, I used to really at the end of the day, really look at my to-do list and think, okay. And the whole thing about like, if you moved it forward 3 times and didn't do it, you need to re it. I used to do that. I really got out of the habit. And I used to look, I would always stop at the end of the day to be ready for the next day and kind of get things. That's because that just worked better for me. Because usually when I come in, you know how it is, you might have 45 people coming at you and asking, you gotta do this. So I did try to do that, and I did get out of the habit. So I probably should do it again. And like you, Angela, I love that pause. I wrote down the 3 things. I wrote them down and have them stuck up in my cube so I can refer to them. So it was good.
That's awesome. Well, hey, Peter, thank you so much for joining us. We're so happy to see you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And sorry, probably arriving late
That's-
to, a book on time management is probably not the, the, oops, sorry, I'm adjusting. I've been running from, I've actually this is going to change in a second. I just can't. Oh, wait, hold on. Maybe I can't control it. There we go. I'm doing the audio recording of my next book.
Oh, wow.
I've been in the studio all morning and talking nonstop because I've just been reading, in a thing. So I just, I stayed a little longer than I expected to stay. So apologies.
Great. No, it's great to have you here, Peter. It's very exciting. We have a smaller group here today, but so happy to have you here. And yeah, I would love to just go ahead and introduce you to the group, though I think everybody who had a chance to read through the book certainly got to know you pretty well. But let me introduce to everybody Peter Bregman. Peter helps successful people become exceptional leaders and stellar human beings. He blends his expertise in business, leadership, and people to deliver quantifiable results, turnarounds, turning $30 million loss into $140 million gain, revenue and stock growth, growing revenue from 400 million to over 1 billion, executive team development, shifting from silos, which I know is something we deal with in the library world a lot, to a unified leadership team, resulting in stock price growth from $19 to $107, and personal development. Peter develops people that promote to the C-level, 10x stock price growth. And the other thing he mentions is sleeping well through the night, which I know is something else we would all appreciate. Peter is the #1 executive coach in the world, according to leading global coaches. He coaches at companies you've all heard of, Electronic Arts, CBS, Citi, Twilio. I know some that a lot of folks have used that one. Peter's ranked as a top 30 thought leader by Thinkers 50 Radar and one of the top 8 thought leaders in leadership. That includes, of course, everything that we got from his book, 18 Minutes, which is a Wall Street Journal bestseller. It has a bunch of other really incredible awards, NPR, Publishers Weekly, just fantastic accolades. And I'm sure for all of us who read it have know why. Peter creates and leads the #1 leadership development program in the world, a 4-day program that transforms the way people lead, increasing their confidence in themselves, ability to connect with others, a commitment to what's most important, and their emotional courage. That's at Bregman Partners. Peter is also the host of a top 10 business podcast. If you haven't listened to it, I highly recommend it, the Bregman Leadership Podcast. Over 1.5 million downloads, and he's a contributor to Harvard Business Review, Psychology Today, Fast Company, Forbes, and all other networks. So Peter, it is really, really wonderful to have you here, and thank you for joining us. So we are a group of library marketers and library marketing enthusiasts, folks that are in library adjacent roles and industries. We got a chance to read the book, and so we'd just love for you to, if you could just take a second and say hello.
Yeah, that's an impressive bio. It's like I feel like you're talking about somebody else. But I mean, I know the bio.
Yeah.
But there's something super obnoxious about it, so I apologize. Like,
I was trying to show you.
I'm just like, I'm listening to it going, I've got to change that bio. But thank you for inviting me, and thank you for reading the book. And mostly I want to I'm going to eat a little bit, if that's okay with you guys.
Please,
I haven't eaten. And I kind of want to listen it. I'm happy to answer any questions, sure. But it'd be fun to just listen to the conversations that you normally have about your books, and kind of hear how this impacts, and certainly any questions or anything. And by the way, thank you for focusing on libraries. Like they're different than when I grew up. I mean, I don't feel like I'm that old, but I think I might be. But they're very different. And I grew up in New York City, but we had a house that we went to on the Jersey Shore, and there was this like little building that was like our library, and it's where I started to, it's like where I went. Like I didn't go to my, New York City public library, but I went to this like Elberon library and picked my spy novel books that I wanted to read. It was really fun.
That's cool. Yeah. Thank you so much, Peter. Yeah, we were just talking about the pause, which is throughout your book, about taking a pause. And something that I really, Mary was talking about how the pause was something that is easy to forget, or Angela rather was talking about how the pause is something that she had forgotten about, that she'd had a boss that talked about taking a pause and would stop people in meetings and say, let's just pause for 30 seconds. So, but yeah, who else has some things that they want to share about the book? Anybody got something else to share?
I hope I'm not going to intimidate this conversation. It's you probably actually, I wrote this book in 2012, and you probably read it more recently than I have. So like, you may know, I was talking to my daughter, and I have 3 kids, and as you know. So my middle daughter now is 16 years old, and
wow.
And I'm alone with her in New York because she has preseason volleyball.
Oh wow.
And so we're in New York, and the rest of the family is down south. And
nice.
And we started talking about my day, and I said I'm recording this, and then I'm recording the book, and she said, well, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I think they're just gonna ask me questions. But
we do have questions.
It's been a long time. Like it's been a long time. I think it's a good book, but it's been a long time. I don't remember it. And you said something in your email, Chris, about 1440, and I was like, 1440.
I don't know if that, I don't know if that was in your book, actually.
I don't know. I'm like, I know 1440, like the multiversity, retreat center in California, but 1440, I don't remember. I might have written that.
I think,
said, Dad, you should probably look at the book before you meet with people.
I think that was my mistake, 1440. It was another time management book. I read it about the same time.
No, I hope so, because I was like, I'm going to look through. I haven't had a chance to look through the book again, but I'm like, I might have written that somewhere, and I don't really fully remember, but I'm sure they're going to stump me. So anyway, don't let me intimidate you, because you probably know more about this than I do.
Oh, it's great. And so I was telling Peter in my email to him about this idea of 1440, which is there are 1440 minutes a day. And I thought I got it from that book, but it was when I read a book by Kevin Cruz, which was right about at the same time, another time management book. But what I associated that even with was somehow I got that associated with the story in the book of the both of your children coming in and you not wanting to break your concentration. And when you talk about the story about having somebody come in and how it stops what you're doing, and you had the one gentleman who you were telling, well, when your secretary comes in, you just have to tell her, I can't do this right now. And what if she just stands there silent? You have to say, you just have to sit there and let the silence hang. And that always really stuck with me, because I wouldn't say that I'm like a real extroverted person, but I really do love talking to, when I have a team, like I manage a team at the library. And when I have a team, I really love to, to talk with them. And I love, we're in creative fields, and I'm sure some of you probably have, do any of you have this kind of experience when you're in creative fields, whether it's your team or colleagues? But we want to be creative, and we want to be, we want to get excited about new ideas and get excited about working through things. And some of us have worked in, Angela's worked in a newsroom, and some of us have worked in, all these other real high kind of energy environments, maybe ad agencies and marketing agencies. And we want people to come in, and we want to feel like, oh yeah, let's get right into that and let's do that. But the story of how it breaks your concentration, and then how much time it takes to get started again, really opened your eyes up to how important it is to, keep to those rules, and it's a very difficult thing to do, to keep to those rules. So I don't know if if anybody else has a similar experience, or Peter, if you have anything to share about that.
I'd love to hear from you guys, and then I could jump in.
Sure. Yeah. What other things? So there was that. There was some other things that we talked that there was in the book. What other any other things that folks had from the book? Mary, I think you had a couple other questions and things that we were talking about also.
Yeah, speaking of the what you just mentioned, Chris, and being interrupted, is the multitasking. Yes. I am like the worst offender of multitasking, because you think you can do it all. And your point, Peter, is no. And so I flit from one thing to the next, and every 5 seconds you're doing 50 different things. I have a really hard time with that. So that's something I need to work on. And I just was wondering how you got your idea for this book. Where did this come from? And we were talking before you came on, just how much I enjoyed the short chapters, the recap at the end. Every chapter had these little nuggets, things that you could do that were simple, that you could really implement several things from the book, and just very easy to, it's pretty common sense in a way, but stuff we never think about. So I'm just wondering how you came up with it and put it all together.
So a lot of it came out of my blog at Harvard Business Review. And so and a lot of my writing is incredibly unstrategic. Like I'm struggling with something, and so I write about it, because I kind of work it out in my writing, and I try to figure it out, and I try to understand it. And half the times I'm writing something, and it, and my editor at HBR is like, Peter, this, it's 800 words. Write it in the next hour or two. I'm like, 800 words for me is going to be 2 days, because I don't know what I'm writing yet. Like, I'm not like, I'm bored. Like, if I wrote what I already knew, I would be bored to tears. And I have a very, very low tolerance for boredom. Like, it's actually a deficit of mine, but I can't, once I've done something, I'm not so interested in it anymore. I want to sort of do the next thing. So for me, the book is really a compilation of struggling with, like, how do I manage my life better in a way that's more fulfilling? And I find that's the question that is coming up for me as you talk about multitasking, and also talking about interruptions. And I think there's a tremendous there's a skill and a tactical approach to managing time, and it's in the service of something, right? And so the question that keeps coming up for my head, and I guess it's because this is what is in my mind right now, is for the sake of what? Like, what brings you joy and a sense of accomplishment and a sense of purpose or life well spent? And I'd actually be very interested to hear that from you guys, because I think anything you do with time is in service of that, and there's no right answer to it. It's completely individual. And I think it's easy to get a little caught up in, like, these are all the techniques so that I can stay on task, so that I can be efficient, so that I can get stuff done. And it's harder to ask the question sometimes, like, for the sake of what? Like, what moves me? What energizes me? What makes me look back at the end of the day and say, that was both joyful and connecting, or whatever it is. Maybe joy and connection's not, maybe you're a masochist. Like, maybe it's like, what created suffering in my life? That was a day well spent. I don't know, like, no judgment. So I'm sort of curious what that is for you, like, why you want to manage your time, and for the sake of what?
Yeah, who has something to share about that? About, what is the benefit of managing the time and the stress of not doing that, and what is the satisfaction of that? Who has something to share about that? Deep question. Lori. Oh, you're muted right now, Lori. There you are. You back? Oh no, you're not back yet. Can you unmute?
There I am.
Hey, Lori. What's up? All right.
Let me say, I didn't get a chance to read the book, and I'm so sorry.
It happens.
That blurb that you did was on the website was awesome enough for me to order it from the local library, so I will read it. But you know what? You reminded me of something that I used to do and I'm doing again. And that is just in my planner at the end of the day, instead of saying all the things I want to get done, list all the things that I did get done. And there's something about, because you look at yourself and you think, I've run around like a chicken with my head cut off today, but it was dealing with my air conditioner and a calendar that we're supposed to share. We had somebody who's leaving, so we're trying to get all that organized. And it's so easy to dismiss even the tough ones, the things that you don't like doing, but that still takes your time. And I think the fact that you're even acknowledging it to yourself, at least for me, it just feels like, okay, I did do something today. I did do something worthwhile. It just, as simple as that may seem. And I swear to you, when I read the synopsis of the book that Chris sent, thank you, Chris, that's exactly what I started to implement. And I thought that's invaluable for me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great, Lori. Rachel, did you have something to share?
Yeah, it's actually something I've been doing for, gosh, how long have we been in the pandemic? Almost 18 months now. Because when I started working remote, that was something that my supervisor asked me to do, was keep a diary of what you're doing. And each week at the end of the week, just send me a bullet point email with what you got done this week. It'll help me make sure that, we're all on the same page and being productive. And I've continued doing it even though we're back in the office. And it's just been incredibly helpful. Like you said, Lori, there are weeks where I feel like, I just didn't get anything done this week and I was really dragging. And then Friday afternoon, I go to type up that email and it's bullet point after bullet point after bullet point after bullet point. And I realized, no, I actually did get a lot done this week. And likewise, at the end of each day, just going into that Word document I have, throwing in the, anywhere from 5 to however many things I got done that day, it gives me the sense of, I really did make progress today. And it gives me that feeling of accomplishment and feeling just more satisfied with myself and less doom and gloom anxious.
That's cool. That's cool. Thank you. Yeah, that's great, Rachel. Yeah, it is really neat. I know, it's funny. And I was thinking about that too. We just went back to working from home for a little bit, and somebody was asking me today. They said, "Hey, are we going to be doing those things where we have to report what we do every day?" And I was like, "Oh no, we don't have to do those." But boy, that's not a bad idea to do something like that, because it is good to kind of journal and capture what you do. Peter, something that was interesting in the book that kind of related to this for me was where you're saying, what is your, for the sake of what, and for what you're doing. And so I'm gonna kiss up by saying this, but I listened to the little interview at the end of the audiobook with your publisher. I think it was your publisher, or your editor. And there was something you said in that that was really cool, and it was about the buffet, which I know is a big part of the book, is the buffet, or a big part of some of the things. Mm-hmm. But it was where you said, when you leave the buffet, the things you want to eat aren't the things that you want to have eaten. And that kind of, to me, clicked when you were asking about this. What is it that I want to have done? And, what is it that I have in front of me to get done? And I have been trying to do things not be quite it is very freeing when you do something like not look at your email all morning, because you're doing other things that are productive. You're not just avoiding the email, but you're doing other things that are productive. And, if I get to 11 or 12 o'clock and I haven't looked at email, I might in the past have kind of had a pit in my stomach, like, oh my God, what am I going to find? But when you do it, like you said, when you tried the not multitasking for a while, you do, I think it's true. I had a similar experience. Like, you do feel like nothing got lost, nothing got left. Email's not text, or it's not a phone call, it's not an immediate expectation. And we talk about that a lot. So yeah.
And let's why don't we put together something that Lori and Rachel, you said, and Chris, that you're saying, which is one interesting or potentially interesting practice might be to be really, really clear with yourself. And it could be from a productivity perspective or from like a meaning of life perspective. What is the most important thing for you to achieve? Or what is most important to you? Or, if you really want to be from a productivity perspective, is what is most important for you to achieve this year? Like get discerning about a thing, not here's the 10 things that are most important, and then once you look at that list, just take it one more step to have the practice of like looking at that thing, whatever that thing is, and looking at how you've spent all of your time, and then asking yourself the question, am I aligned? Like, am I spending my time on those things that are gonna get me to what is most important to me, or what is most important for me to accomplish? So like connecting those dots, you're already doing all the work. It's just, spending another second to connect the dots. And then, every week it allows you to move a little closer to aligning your actions with what gives you meaning or helps you achieve the thing you want to achieve, or whatever that is.
Sorry, I keep losing power here.
We already, Chris.
There's a thunderstorm right outside. I'm down in Jacksonville, Florida, and we have a good old Florida thunderstorm happening right now. But
oops, Chris, you're going in and out. We do have one thing in the chat. I don't know, Sarah, if you wanted to talk about what you put in the chat, the 5 senses experiencing a way toward mental experiencing.
You're on mute.
Can't hear you, Sarah.
Can you hear now?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. So I had acceptance and commitment therapy, and this is a box that they use to frame things, and it's a lot like what Peter talks about. So the toward, you figure out who and what are important, and the away, you figure out things that pull you away from that, and behaviors that you do to kind of avoid things. Like a behavior that I do is when I'm really stressed out, I think I need more education. I'm going to take a class on something. Is the class that I'm taking going to get me to my goal, the bottom right-hand box? No, it's not. Not for me. I've already taken those classes. So the idea is that with acceptance and commitment, you accept your feelings and how you feel, but every decision and behavior you make, you're trying to move towards what's important and what makes you happy. So if you have a decision, like for me, my friends are very important. So if my friend asks me to do something and I'm kind of like, I don't know, you know, and I'm waffling, I should decide to do it because my friend is important to me. And that in the end is a better decision.
I like that. And I'm wondering if you ask yourself the question, because this could be a useful question. Why am I waffling? Because there might be a reason you're waffling that's totally like both valid and communicative of something that's important. Like that says like, I'm actually waffling because, I mean, it might be like I'm waffling because I'm feeling lazy right now and I just gotta, you know, get up and do it. Or I might be waffling because I don't trust something, or there's something else that's really important that I'm going to be sacrificing. It's a loss of boundary. Like I'm going to give up something important to me in order to do this for someone else. I mean, I don't know what it is, but it might be useful to ask the question, why am I waffling? As opposed to overriding it automatically.
I think that's true too. I think my natural inclination, one of my away things is overwork. And so I always am like, I'm too busy. I have this and that to do, and I have to do my volunteer thing. And I need to kind of stop that.
Right.
For myself, I need to stop that behavior. And it's actually gotten worse during the pandemic when there's less opportunity to not work.
Right, right. Both because we don't have the natural boundaries of space and because we have nothing else to do.
Can I say, Sarah, too, one of the things for me with the pandemic is it was, well, I mean, it's affected all of us in different ways, but sometimes some of the similar ways and there were days that all I wanted to do was take a nap. And sometimes I did and then worked later because I felt guilty. But on the other hand, it was like at that moment, I couldn't wrap my head around doing something productive, whether it was for me, my dogs, or work. It didn't matter what it was. It just was overwhelming. But I wanted to share this. I got this on Facebook. It says, I'm a perfectionist with a procrastinator complex. Someday I'm going to be awesome.
Very good.
I have it on my file cabinet behind me. But you know what? I'm not procrastinating as much as I used to. One of the things that's helped quite a bit, which I know is out of a lot of people's control, but we had one not immediate manager, but the manager of my manager retired. And we have a new manager. And she sees the potential of our library and what we could be doing and is very positive. She reinforces us. I've never been called brilliant before. I love it. Those things really do help. And the other thing that she reminds me that one of the things that she said was, this doesn't have to be done now. You know, you're taking steps towards that connect the dots kind of thing is saying, hey, yeah, we didn't do a quote unquote community outreach program yet, but I've called all these agencies. I have emailed them. I've looked them up. We put them in a spreadsheet, whatever it is that you are heading towards that ultimate goal that will evolve anyway by the time you get there and change as it goes. But I think it's just that affirming that you are making steps towards that, even if they're little. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how small. One email. So.
Yeah, perfectionism and procrastination are cousins. They are. It's not that it's not that I'm a perfectionist, but I'm a procrastinator. It's I'm a procrastinator because I'm a perfectionist. Right? Like I don't, why would I start something that won't be perfect or may not be perfect or what, you know, so I'd rather not confront the gap or even the shame of doing something that's not great. I'd rather just not do it at all.
Yeah.
And so procrastination is, you know, comes along with perfectionism.
Makes sense. It's kind of like,
funny.
Don't open your mouth or you're thought a fool, or you open your mouth and they know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I paraphrased that, but
So the book I wrote most recently, not the one that's coming out in September, but the one I wrote before that is called Leading with Emotional Courage.
Yeah.
And that's very much about the willingness to feel things. And so, you know, all these books, in my view, kind of fit together. But if you really want to accomplish things that feel a little risky, you have to be willing to feel things that also feel risky, that may not feel good. Like if I'm going to write a book, then people are I wrote an article for CNN recently, and you know, I got so much hate mail, and I was like reading it to my daughter. I'm like, look, this is this is fine. Like this is this is one of the great things about being public is you impact a lot of people, and you know, and you have some fame and recognition, which everybody kind of likes. I mean, not everybody likes it, but I mean, I kind of like it. It's you know, but it's like it's a positive side. People, you know, say nice things about you, but also when you put yourself out there, people are going to say shitty things about you, and they're gonna like, you know, they're gonna hate you also. And I think the trick is to not take either of them that seriously.
Yeah.
Like, not hold on too much to the nice things and not hold on too much to the angry things, and just keep doing what, you know, keep learning and growing and doing what you think you should be doing. But perfectionism is very paralyzing.
Yeah, it's yeah. Can you hear me okay now? I think our power's back. Thanks for keeping it going. Something, Peter, that you talked in the book that I wanted to see, and I want to see if anybody else has any thoughts about this one too. You talked about how important it is to make the conscious decisions about what we're doing with our time. And that's, you know, one of the main messages in the book is, you know, making sure that we're making good use of our time and making those decisions to make good use of our time. And something that I'm curious if anybody else has any thoughts about this, or of course, I'd love to hear Peter, but some of that rang to some of the things that we do in libraries, and I know, you know, other industries, but this is where we are, is in libraries. We have a constant battle with, we have so many products. We have so many things that we can give, that people can do with their library card. We have so many different things. And, you know, it, as important as it is in the book, the message, you know, the conscious decisions, what we do about our time. I just wonder if anybody else thought about that other side of the coin, like, how can we help our customers make conscious decisions about what they can do with their time? And, you know, does anybody have any thoughts about that or anything? Or Peter, is there, you know, trying to, again, translate some of it from the lessons that are really valuable in time management, not just for our own time, but how can we deliver that to other people and share that with others?
I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Can I say, Chris, that one of the things that we discovered when we were doing our marketing brochure, that, and I work in a law library, and we figured out how many years experience each of us had in law firms.
Yeah.
Never do it again.
No.
Not where I work here. But here's the thing. Between three of us, we have over 100 years of legal research expertise. So we put it in our membership letter. Yeah. Take advantage of it. We're here to help you save time. Yeah. You know, you're an attorney, you have 5 million things to do. Why don't you give us some of that stuff to do? We can pull it together. You can come and analyze it and see what works for you, what doesn't, but it's kind of, we made it a service.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. Yeah. Yeah, it's important to look at it that way. And a lot of the things that we've talked about over the months have talked about, getting to what's important for our customers is more important than what's important for us sometimes. So
I think the thing that really it blew our minds that we had that much.
yeah. Oh yeah,
It's like
for sure.
combine it. It's like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Hannah.
Yes, it's interesting you asked this because I'm tasked with making a list of the 10 things you need to know about the UCSB library this week. And thinking about it, like the things I'm coming back to are, we do a graduating student survey, and in there it's always like, what is a resource you wish you knew about sooner in the library? And I think looking at the students' answers to those questions are really interesting. Like they're always saying, oh, I wished I had known about the archives. I never even went there and looked at them. Or I wish I had known I could just make an appointment with a librarian. There's a bunch of other stuff, but I'm kind of using that to inform what I'm choosing, in addition to the questions that are coming through the chat that are being asked over and over to the librarians online. And yeah, that's kind of how I'm coming down to it. But yeah, it's like, what is the most important things for students to know? It's a hard question. And when you're working at the library, you get so caught up in like all the things everyone's doing that it is sometimes hard to think about the customer experience. So yeah. I appreciate that you asked that question.
It's an interesting way to look at it, and to think again of like, yeah, just like what you're saying, Hannah. I mean, what is the most important thing? And I know there's a thing in the book about the like 10 golden behaviors, and you really have one golden behavior. But even as cool, Hannah, I mean, yeah, it'd be kind of funny. I mean, as you pointed out, one of the things that sounds like it is the most important thing is that time to book with a librarian. And we've talked recently about our like book a librarian kind of service that we have. And yeah, it's so cool because that, like of anything, the most important thing is you can come to us and tell us what your problem is, and we can help you solve it. We've got a million things to solve these problems with. And we can tell you about all the things we have, but it's probably going to be, overload for you if we tell you with everything. So, yeah.
Well, and Chris, part of that is the just in time. I only want to know what I want to know. And whatever I want to know now is what's important, because
sure.
You can tell me 5 million things and only one of the million is what's important. But I like the fact that you did that in your survey, Hannah. I really do. I think that's a cool way to say, what is it? Because we overlook, we think, oh, this is great, but if you don't get that feedback, you don't know what they see, what they're missing.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like, it's I'm also a consultant or coach, and
right.
And so like I know a ton of stuff, and that's true. I mean, like the bio might have been a little overblown, but I do know a lot. And so then I'm sitting with a client, and I'm not going to tell them everything I know.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to ask them a bunch of questions, and I'm going to understand as clearly as I can, like what is the most useful thing to share with them that will help them move forward in what's most important to them. And it's like, I don't know anything about libraries, except, I spent a lot of time in them as kids. And then in college, obviously I wish I knew that I could book time with my librarian.
Well, you still can.
I still can. So that's so interesting. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I still can.
Well, and it's customer service no matter what the service is.
Yeah, I think that's great.
There was a year that I couldn't find a library job. I worked at Joann Fabrics, and I ended up being at the customer service desk, and it just was like it. And when I got interviewed for this job, they said, well, that doesn't relate. I said, it's customer service no matter what the product is.
Yeah, it reminds me.
And I did get hired. Right answer, I think.
It reminds me of this Alice in Wonderland quote where the Cheshire Cat, where Alice is walking and she sees the Cheshire Cat, and there's a bifurcation in the road. There's a a choice to make. And she said, which road should I take? And the cat says, well, that depends. Where are you going? and she says, I don't know. And the Cheshire Cat's answer is, well, then any road will get you there. Right? Which I love. I love that answer.
Yeah, that's a great quote.
You know, your jobs is about asking questions, it sounds like, as much as it is in giving answers, because you don't know which answers to give until you've asked the questions that help them make the best use of your knowledge.
Yeah, it's definitely
I have to go. I have a 4 o'clock.
It's okay.
And, you know, having been late to this meeting, I sort of want to model using transition time and, you know, make sure that I can be prepared for my next conversation. But I have a minute or two if there's like anything else, but I'll just say from my perspective, it's been really fun. Like, it's nice to hang with you, and I appreciate that you not only work in libraries but actually read books.
Peter, what's your next book? Can you tell us just a quick blurb?
The next book it's titled "You Can Change Other People." And it's basically this idea of like, there's this truism that you can't change other people, you can only change yourself. It's totally not true. And it's, you know, you can't manipulate. I mean, maybe you can, but the book is not about manipulating people, but it's like, people want to change. People don't resist change. They resist being changed. And so if you could figure out how to engage with them in a way that helps them make changes that are in their best interest and that they want to make also, but that they're struggling making. Like, that's what the book is about. It's really taking what I know in coaching and applying it in this sort of simple process to help, you know, people who want to help people.
And when will the book come out? That was one of the questions in the chat.
September 22nd.
Okay.
Oh,
very nice.
Cool.
The date that it comes out. So I'm recording the audiobook today and tomorrow. And then we'll hopefully be in all sorts of media over the next few weeks.
Awesome.
But, September 22nd. So buy them for all your libraries, or get all your libraries.
Yes.
You need to get a library card, since it sounds like you haven't been in the library in a while. Just saying.
I had a library card and I don't know where it is. Like, I had it.
Well,
when I was.
You need to go to the library.
Right. See, I'm still getting scolded by librarians. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Oh.
You'll be surprised.
Oh, thank you so much for your time, Peter. Really appreciate it. It was just a pleasure to have you join us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Applause for Peter. Thank you very much.
Nice.
And best success with your new book. And then we'll be reading. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. So, well, that was cool. Hope everybody enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty neat. If anybody didn't get a chance to read the book, it is a really good book. It's a good read. It's a quick read. I would say, if you're somebody who listens to audiobooks, I highly recommend listening to it. It's a great listen. He's got a nice warm voice, and just, it's great hearing him tell the stories he's got a lot of stories about his family. It's definitely one of those books. I mean, I don't know what y'all thought too, but it seems like it's one of those books where, did anybody get this, where you almost, I think Mary, you said, but you almost don't realize that there's all these great nuggets of information in it, because it's so nice and casual and approachable, and yeah, it was a really great book. So very cool. Anything else anybody wants to share? And thanks for all of you for contributing in the chat today. I appreciate it. And sorry about the power. Beyond my control. but I appreciate y'all keeping it going. And we have a few more minutes. Anybody else have anything else to share about anything? Any questions, any library stories, any things anybody needs help with, any marketing issues anybody needs any help with? Anything anybody wants to share about something that went well?
I have a question.
Yeah, Hannah.
So in the book, he says something, I wrote it down here because it was so related to the pandemic. When our future is uncertain, we have a hard time functioning in the present. And he give some ways to make you more motivated, but I'm curious with this group, like what things did you find, or maybe tactics from the book that you've been really relying on during the pandemic to keep you motivated? I'm just kind of curious if there's like common themes among us or if it's really diverse.
Yeah. Great question.
I'll just say something that's been helpful for me is having small projects that I know I can complete in a reasonable amount of time, like maybe 2 weeks max. So it's not something I can just, bang out in an hour, because then it's done, but something that I know, okay, I can get this done in about 2-ish weeks, maybe a little over a week. And it's something that I can be looking forward to and plan concrete things to do each day of those 2 weeks that it's going to take me. And then being able to get to the end of that project and say, I did it, it's done. But I'm curious to see what other people say, because this has also been hard for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think breaking those big projects into little bite-sized chunks is what you're talking about. And I am also doing that. Also, I became a huge scheduler in my calendar. So I started doing this thing where I will put in an appointment for a thing I have to do. I'm not meeting with anybody, but I am not available for you to schedule a meeting during that time, because I know I need that hour or 2 hours to get that thing done. And so I think protecting my time a little more than I used to do is the thing that has really helped. And then I just look at my calendar all the time and be like, okay, what is the thing I'm supposed to be doing right this very minute? Okay, I got an hour set aside to write this thing. I'm going to write it because that's what I have to do, and then leaving space open for people to schedule meetings, but just being because I could be in meetings all day long. Some of you probably could be too if everything was open. And I never used to set aside time to do things for the stuff to get done that we were meeting about. So I think that was very helpful. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Sarah, you can't block time in your calendar. Oh my goodness.
Absolutely not allowed, because our director wants to know if you are available to come to the desk in an emergency.
Oh no. Oh boy.
You know what's interesting about that? Can your director look at your calendar? Can he or she see if you were to block time but leave it as free? Do you know what I mean? Put the appointment in but leave yourself as free, so you could be like, I am doing this thing now. I'm free. You can make me come to the desk, but this is actually what I'm working on right now, and you can see that I'm trying to get my work done. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yes. I don't know. She just said we can't time block our calendars. Usually they can see everything that's on our calendar unless you change the settings to more private.
Paper calendar.
Paper calendar.
We all at Novelists, we look at each other's calendars all the time and try to discern whether someone is working on something a priority or is this actually a time I can maybe bug them, and it's helpful, but everybody has to be on board for that to happen.
We had some people that blocked off all their free time so they never had to help out in emergencies, and so she put the hammer down.
Yeah.
An extreme to the other.
Somebody messing it up.
That's right. Wow. That was a good question, Hannah. I think, and I think similarly, I would love to put the meetings on there. Something that I did, if you're on Office 365, there's this thing it can do where it automatically schedules focus time for you during the week. Yeah. So if you're on 365, check that out. It's pretty cool. You don't even have to schedule it. It just schedules these 2-hour blocks of focus time throughout the week.
And time for your emails.
Yeah. So we just got a minute left. I want to do a drawing. So Hannah, pick a number between 1 and 9.
I'll go 9.
9 is Shannon Stoley.
All right.
Yay, Shannon. Shannon, you win a copy of next month's book, which is Fascinate by Sally Hogshead.
Yeah, I have a copy right here.
Yeah, it's a good
And a
book.
copy.
Yeah, very good book. Yeah, we got copies all around. Yay.
Got mine
Really
at the
good book.
library.
Me too.
Very nice.
Mine is waiting to be picked up at the library.
Okay. So next month we're going to be September 21st. It's a Tuesday. I didn't do it the following week because the following week is CM World. So where Angela will be presenting. So if anybody's lucky enough to be able to go to CM World, you will see Angela presenting, which should be really cool. And if anybody has any questions or needs anything, hit me up anytime. Sign up for the email list if you haven't. That way you'll get a lot of stuff faster. I'm just trying to type everybody's names who's here today. Thank y'all for coming. I will see you all again soon. Fill out the survey. You'll get a survey. Fill out the survey. Thanks, everybody.
Good job.
Have a
as
great
always.
day.
Chris.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you all.
Bye,
Reminders
everybody.
are great, especially an hour before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's today.
Yeah, good. I like to hear that. Good. I like to hear that. Very cool. All right. Thanks, y'all. Have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
Bye. Stay safe.